Welcome, everyone. This is Tony Martinez. Thank you for joining me today. Today is October 19th, 2022, and we are going to present our distressed properties market update, an intro to the CDPE. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the support that we're receiving from our wonderful sponsors. We have Lori, and if I get the name wrong, Lori, forgive me, I'm going to try my best. Ciaravella?
Very close, much closer than most. It's actually Ciaravella, but
Oh,
normally I get Ciaravella, so I'll take it.
okay, yeah. I figure what's that old saying? You'll as you call you anything as long as it's not late for dinner or something like that.
Right, exactly. And I just want to apologize to everyone up front. I have no idea why my camera's not working, but for some reason it is just showing me as dark. So I'm working on that.
I know it's always something technical. It's crazy, so this is what happens. We haven't figured out everything with technology, but no worries. But we want to thank you so much for the main reason why we're doing this little introduction in this little session is because Lori is sponsoring the CDP live and in person in Orlando coming up on 11/10, November 10th, just before the NAR convention. And we thought, what a great idea to go ahead and give people a taste of what is in store if they decide to join us that day. But regardless, let's give people some information that they can use right now, regardless of whether they ever want to take the course or not. I also want to thank Leanette Fernandez of Benchmark Mortgage because she is also stepping up and making this class available as well. I'm excited about the NAR convention. It's coming up right here in Orlando, and we're going to be there with our booth, number 784, and we are going to be presenting the CDP live and in person the day before at Nova Southeastern University. But let's go ahead and get in with the information. So we have about 20 folks on the call right now, and I try to get this done in under an hour. So I'm going to move fast and furious. I need you to do two things. One is go ahead and take notes. And even if you don't take notes or even pay attention, you're going to get the recording anyway. So the recording is going to go out this evening. But let's go ahead and get started with who am I and what am I doing here, right? Tony Martinez, I'm one of you. I'm a Florida licensed real estate broker. I have 5 locations and about 250 agents in South Florida, which means that I'm in the trenches every single day. I'm not teaching theory. This is not what I heard from somebody else works. This is what we're doing every single day. I am a master short sales instructor, and I have personally trained over 15,000 agents on the short sale process. And as of May of last year, I became the owner of the CDPE course and designation. There are some of you that may be on the call that are what I call OGs. There's Debbie right there smiling from Illinois. She's one of my OGs. Now, what do people say? What's an OG? Well, that's either the old guard or original gangster. It's whatever one you want to use. It's okay with me. But look, Debbie, you and I got to talk afterward because I'm coming out to Illinois to teach a class out there. And I figure maybe we can do something for your group. It's getting busy, folks. Debbie posted the other day on Facebook that she's working on 5 different short sales right now. Yeah, so they don't exist, right? There's no business out there for short sales and distressed properties. And that's okay. I hear this all the time. So here's what we're going to cover today, right? Is another wave of foreclosures coming? And here's what's happening. I've gone from starting these back in June of last year, even before I acquired the CDP, I was teaching my short sale mastery. And I busted out right after COVID saying, get ready. And people thought I was nuts. People were telling me all kind of weird things. Like the market's not going to change. We were in the strongest market we've ever been. There's not going to be any foreclosure. There's not going to be any. I said, okay, all right. I hope you're right. But just in case, hear me out. I don't get those arguments anymore. It's amazing what's been happening over the past 6 months. It's almost like we went from, and I have Jeanette on a call here, my administrative assistant. We were here sometimes going like this. You got anything going on today? No, not much. And then all of a sudden the switch flipped and there's calls every single day. When can you get out here? What's going on? I need help. So I'm going to make an argument. You let me know. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of folks don't understand. that foreclosure doesn't end when the house is taken away. That may be just the beginning of their problems, because there are severe consequences to a foreclosure being on someone's record. So I'm going to share these with you and why it's important. And then we're going to transition. Why? Because there'll be people that are losing their homes that have equity, and those are regular sales. And then there are people going to be losing their homes that are underwater, and these are potential short sales. You got to know both. I mean, really, you really should know both, right? And then I figure if I speak for 50 minutes, fast and furious, sharing, I don't think you're going to mind I take the last 5 to 7 minutes to go ahead and share with you how, if you are ready to take it to another level, how the CDP can be of assistance to you. And for those of you that stick with me to the very end, you get a bonus lead generation tip. So is another wave coming? Disclaimer, I'm not an economist. I didn't even graduate from high school, so I'm definitely not an economist, but I'm not this dude either. And this is what happens. And this is amazing. I get in conversations with some incredibly intelligent, successful broker owners and executives of major companies. And I say, you know what? Let me train your agents. And this is their approach. We don't need it. Nothing's happening. There's tons of equity. And then I go to them and say, I get you. There's probably more equity now than there is in 2008. But if someone has equity and they're in foreclosure and they lose the home, couldn't it be because maybe one of us didn't approach them and say there's a better way? So why don't you let me teach your agents what that better way is so that they can share it with others? Crickets. And I says, okay, there's early adopters, and then there's people that chase the market. You all are early adopters because you're on this call. Let the other ones chase the market. Now there's opinion, which we're all entitled to, and then there are facts. So let me share some numbers, all right? So let's take a look at foreclosure starts. This is across the country, and this is from the point where it becomes legal, it becomes official. The individual lenders have begun formally the foreclosure process. For the third quarter of this year, there are the 5 states. Guess where I get most of my calls from? California and Florida. California is running scared right now. They have areas of California that are seeing a 10% drop in prices right now, and that's just the beginning. And Florida, we've always been in the top 5. Before COVID, and then again, you know, with COVID, there was a moratorium, so there weren't any real foreclosures. Texas, see this, Debbie? Illinois, you're right up there. And then New York, who takes about 19 years to finish a foreclosure, right? For those of you that are up there, I mean, these are judicial states, and New York and New Jersey are, take the longest in the country, but there's been a lot of them in the system for a long time. So those are coming up. So I get a lot of agents from those areas seeking me out. All right, so let's take a look for September. And you know what? I want to give a shout out to adamdata.com. Adamdata.com. They do an amazing job of compiling all these stats. Their latest numbers just came out earlier in the week for the third quarter and also for September. But there it is. These are the top 5 states based on foreclosure rates. Foreclosure rates: Ohio, 1 in every 2885 housing units. Then Maryland, New Jersey, Nevada, and then Illinois right there. So these are the top 5 states. So what you could do is in your own time, go to adamdata.com and pull up these reports, because it's important that you understand, I'm sharing a national view, but you need to find out what's going on in your states. And you need to find out within your states, which are the counties that have the most foreclosure activity, and then break it down to the ridiculous, which are the cities that have the highest foreclosure rates. And what you want to do is you want to engage now, because it's not crowded. And I don't think it's ever going to be crowded, folks. The reality is that working distressed properties and working short sales is not sexy. So it doesn't attract the numbers. And this is good for you, because you can go ahead and pretty much pick up the low-hanging fruit. So as of the first half of 2022, foreclosure activity is up 219%. But when you look at the chart, you see that we're starting to approach pre-COVID numbers. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to get all the way up here like it was in 08, 9, and 10. This is when I was traveling all across the country. But it doesn't need to get to that level to be really, really bad. But no one has the crystal ball. We don't know. We simply don't know. We just know that 2021 was a lie because that was artificially held down by moratoriums as well as part of 2020. So now what we're seeing is 2022 is starting to almost go back to normal. So keep an eye on that. Now, Q3, this is interesting. Foreclosure activity this quarter versus the quarter before, and September versus August is pretty much flat. I don't know why. Honestly, I really don't know why. I'm sure that there are some experts out there that could say, well, you know what, blah, blah, blah. It's just that what happens is this is the numbers as they are right now. We could find that in the next couple of months, it spikes again. So we only saw a 1% increase over the previous quarter. Now, again, when we compare it to last year, the numbers look pretty drastic because, again, there wasn't a whole lot of foreclosure activity last year. So pretty flat in terms of new foreclosure activity. Now, foreclosure filings, this is when it gets all the way to the end. This is where the bank disposes of the property. Either they sell it on the courthouse steps or they buy it again. So for the first three quarter, or for quarter three, Q3, again, relatively soft increase over the previous quarter, only 3%, but 53% increase over the year before. So I don't know if during the summertime, that maybe that's why it was a little soft or whatever. I do expect the fourth quarter to be soft. And the reason is because usually there are unofficial moratoriums for foreclosure during the holidays. Most of the courts and most of the lenders, they really don't want the optics of kicking somebody out of their home with Thanksgiving around the corner and then Christmas. So we're going to see a softening in the fourth quarter, but I don't want you to make it believe that, oh, okay, things are okay. It's just, I don't think it's going to get really, really, really bad until the middle of next year. What we're seeing right now is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. Now, September foreclosure filings all the way to the very end. September was an 8% increase over August and a 62% increase over the year before. So again, month over month, relatively calm, relatively flat, numbers pretty strong against the year before. This is some first half numbers that I wanted to share. This is why I wanted to share this. I hear this all the time. Banks aren't doing any foreclosures. Banks are not doing REOs. Banks are not taking homes away. Well, tell that to the 20,750 homeowners that lost their homes in the first half of this year, which represented a 30% increase over last half of 2021 and 113% increase over the first half of 2020. Now, what states had the greatest number of REOs in the first half of this year? Woo-hoo! Illinois. And you know what this looks like? This looks like 2008 all over again. Because when you look at the top five back in the day, except for maybe Pennsylvania, but Michigan, you guys remember back in 2009, you could buy a house in Michigan for $500? You guys remember those days? Yeah. And then again, California, Florida were right there. Now, in case you're wondering, what's an REO? REO means real estate owned. This means it's too late to help them. That means that they lost the property. People ask me all the time, hey, you're going to teach me about REOs? No. That's a segment, completely different segment. In other words, we're two sides of the coin. We're the ones that are trying to prevent an REO by helping people avoid foreclosure and help them with a dignified exit. REO is once the property is lost. Now, let's look at some metropolitan areas that had the worst foreclosure rates in August. And I wanted to point out that there is Chicago there. Look at Jacksonville. Look at Orlando. So it's creeping up. And when I taught in Orlando and Tampa in September, all of the agents were telling me the same thing. They're seeing a huge shift in the market, huge shift in what's going on in the market. Again, if I'm going too fast, don't worry, you're going to get the recording anyway. And feel free to share the recording with anyone you want. I get that question asked all the time. Can I share it? Absolutely. If you're a broker owner or an influencer or something like that, feel free to go ahead and share it. Now, this is interesting. Zombie foreclosures. Well, what's a zombie foreclosure? And that is a property that's in some stage of the foreclosure process, but has been abandoned by the homeowner. So it shows that 1.3 million properties are sitting vacant in the United States. You don't hear this. You don't hear anybody talking about this. Most of these are not even on the market. What's going to happen when they come onto the market? And you know what's really sad? There aren't many good reasons to abandon your property during foreclosure. There really isn't. I mean, you're going from not paying anything at all to going where? Right? You're going to move in with mom and dad? You're going to pay rent someplace else? Why do people do it? Number one reason, they don't know their rights. They don't know that they should stay in that property until the very end. You know why? It's their property until the very end. They can't stay there. So you know why this happens? Because we don't have enough CDPEs out there right now engaging individuals. You have to understand the CDPE back in its day, we got up to 48,000 members. We were the most powerful movement for helping people avoid foreclosure. Now I'm in charge of bringing it back. And we're going to do it with practitioners like Debbie and others. We're going to do this because we helped a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people back in the day avoid foreclosure. And this time around, it's time to go ahead and get the band back together. What else is contributing to foreclosures? Okay. Well, you know the moratoriums are gone, right? So that's gone. Ooh, inflation. Okay. So we're talking about this more and more. This is not good, people. And here's the thing: this is so socially, economically distinct, right? There's a portion of the population that isn't feeling this at all. They're not feeling this at all. If you're wealthy or you're right up there, well, how is this bothering you? But here's my concern. There's people every day right now in America that are making a decision. Do I fill my tank with gas or do I put food on the table? Because let me tell you, 8.3%, that's not how much food has gone up. Food has gone up significantly more than that. And it's not what energy costs are. What's going to happen during wintertime now with people with energy costs? So this is eating away. Let me break it down this way for you. And again, do your own due diligence. About 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, paycheck to paycheck. They hardly have any cushion at all. Now they're paying significantly more for everything. Okay? Now think about that. If they're homeowners, they're paying more for property taxes. They're paying more for insurance. And they're probably paying more for homeowners. The HOAs. Then you add gas. Then you add food. Yeah, paycheck to paycheck. How many of them don't make it to a paycheck and have to go to one of these paycheck loan places to get an interim loan for 30% interest? What are the feds doing and what are the feds going to do? What have they already said? They're going to keep raising the rates until they can get inflation under control. When do they meet again? Next month. There'll be another rate. What happened after this last increase? Didn't we go from essentially 5% interest to a little close to 7 and over 7 in some areas? Have any of you heard reports that we might hit 9 and 10? Do you know that when I first got my license in California in late 70s, we hit almost 18% interest back then? We have a whole generation of real estate agents that have never sold in an environment of higher than 5% interest. Now we have agents running scared because they don't know what to do. Unemployment. Well, this hasn't kicked in yet, but it will. It has to, because they have to get this economy under control. It's too hot. So people are going to start spending less once the recession fears sit in. Once they set in and people start spending less, we're going to jump. In fact, this came out, ABC News, the Federal Reserve, right? You know that they're fighting against inflation, and they fully expect that their rate increases are going to contribute to higher unemployment. Look what happens when you go from 3.7, I think we're at 3.5 right now, and if we hit 4.4, that means an estimated 1.2 million Americans additionally become unemployed. I was watching one of the videos, and some of them you have to be really careful of because there's a lot of doom and gloom people out there. But this one guy talks about with the 5 and 5, that when 5% unemployment, you see unemployment goes up to 5%, and 5% of the population stops spending. When those two cross over, trouble's coming. So keep an eye on this. Here's a little tip. Start watching, reading all of the business news in your towns, in the cities that you service, because what really counts is the employers in your area. What are the employers in your area doing? When you see them start to lay off people, watch out. Have you heard of stealth layoffs? Stealth layoffs. That's when employers are saying, all right, party's over. You got to come back and work from the office. You got to come back to the office. And a certain percentage of their employee base says, no, I've gotten comfortable working from home. I'm not coming back. Well, guess what? They just laid themselves off. Keep an eye on this stuff. Consumer debt has grown by $350 billion. This was the part that was getting to me, because now that I'm into all this, I see life through different lenses. So I see people still spending money like drunken sailors. I'm going, you go to a restaurant and it's packed. You go to bars and it's packed. I'm going, what a recession. There's no recession. It's because everybody's borrowing. Everybody is maxing out their credit cards. And guess what? This is affecting the bottom 90% of households. The top 10%, they're not getting in debt. They're too smart for that. The bottom 90% has increased to record levels, $350 billion. That's where people are getting the money, because there's fewer people working. People say, oh, the unemployment rate's so low. Well, is it because there are that many jobs, or that the participation level is so low because so many people are saying, nah, I don't want to go back to work. Or you know what? I'll become part of this gig economy. I'll drive Uber, make just enough, and then, I'll meet my needs. Keep an eye on this stuff. This debt issue is crazy. Have you been watching what's going on with auto loan defaults? They're starting to increase. The recession. Are we in a recession? Of course we are, technically. Why did this even become an issue? For generations, all we had to look at was two consecutive quarters of negative GDP. That was the definition, textbook definition of a recession. Now it's being spun and that we're not really in a recession. Well, ask 97% of executives that believe that we either in a recession or headed toward one. So you take your pick. And the more you follow different economists and everything else, the more people are predicting that it's going to be much deeper and much uglier than predicted. And here's my feeling, because I've been in the real estate industry for a long time. When our industry says that things are going to be okay, I hear bad. And when our industry people say it's going to be bad, it's going to be ugly bad, because everybody's taking their turn spinning. Everyone's spinning it. Well, let me tell you about this market and how it's going to be okay. Okay. And I'm the doom and gloom guy? No, I'm just a guy saying, what if? What if it's not? Are you ready? Because if you're ready, it doesn't happen, it's all good. But if it happens and you're not ready, you could be one of the casualties. How many realtors do we have right now? According to NAR, 1.5, almost 1.6 million. You think we're going to have that many by the end of next year? You think we're going to have that many by the time the boards have their next renewal? No, it's going to get tough, people. Is there a bubble? Oh, sacrilege. How dare you mention the word bubble? Well, let me take you back in time to 2007. Anybody doing real estate back then? Who pushed back the hardest against the idea that we were in a bubble? The real estate industry. You know why? We get high on our own supply. We weren't going to go accept that this could happen. And when it happened, did it happen gradually? Overnight. Fell off the cliff overnight. Now you Google housing bubble and you start seeing this. You start seeing all of these areas of the country that were super, super overheated. So CoreLogic in October said, look at this. The ones that are red are the odds are of prices dropping very, very high. Look at the West Coast. Look at here, Florida. And then South Florida, high. So lots of areas of the country that have been super overheated are already starting to see the corrections. Now, this is an interesting, really interesting report from Black Knight, and kind of a different take. You can go over to Black Knight's website and download this report. It's amazing. It's like 25, 26 pages. This just came out. And I love reading this kind of stuff because it really takes into account the whole thing. But I wanted to point out one thing in particular, and it talks about the last 2 months. So I'm going to read this. I know it's kind of small, but I'm going to read this. On the bottom left, it says July and August marked the largest single month price declines seen since January of 2009 and rank among the 8th largest on record. Now, check us out. The housing market has not seen such a significant 2-month drop in prices since shortly after the collapse of Lehman Brothers in the winter of 2008. This should be waking people up as to what's coming. Because people keep telling me there's so much equity in the market. Based on what? Based on the neighbor that spent $60,000 over appraised price to buy that house? Maybe our valuations are based on a house of cards. Just saying. Have you seen the sales volume dropping in your area? It is in mine. For July, Broward County closed sales down 30%, pending sales down 22.5%. This is going on across the country. Fewer showings, fewer offers, more price reductions. Yeah. And then inevitably the question comes up, will it be as bad as 2008? I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. But does it have to be? Check this out. This is 2008. This is a homeowner standing on this rock. And here's the foreclosure wave that hit us. 100-foot tsunami. 2023, homeowner, rock, 25-footer. Homeowner is thanking their lucky stars that it's only a 25-foot tsunami about to hit them. Really? The size really matter right about now? Folks, to anybody that's going through foreclosure, they don't compare it to back then. It's almost like if your child has 104 fever, and then the next day they got 102 fever. Well, it's better than it was yesterday. It's still 102 fever. So there is a wave coming. I've made the argument, but is there a wave of short sales coming? Well, what does it matter? It's either they have equity and it's a regular sale, or they don't have equity and it's a potential short sale. Either way, it's a distressed property, and either way, it's low-hanging fruit because a typical real estate agent doesn't engage in these arenas. So you're going to have the opportunity of helping people avoid foreclosure by listing their property for sale and doing a regular sale. And I teach you what to say, when to say it, how to approach them, what to keep an eye out for. And for whatever percentage is underwater, you're going to be able to learn how to do short sales. But here's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid them losing their home. Wait a minute. I know what you're thinking, Tony, but they lose their home in a short sale as well. Technically, you're right. But in a short sale, they exit the property with dignity. In an REO, they're shown to the curb. Yeah, there is a huge difference. Now, are there consequences? You better believe it. Are there opportunities? You better believe it. So let's talk about some of the consequences, because the more of these you memorize, the better equipped you are. This is right out of my class. The first thing you have to understand is that foreclosure stays on their credit report for up to 7 years. If they want to buy again in the future, they may have to wait 5 to 7 years to get a regular loan. Here's a dialogue. Here's a gift. Ready? So, Tony, I don't care. Let the bank take my house. Okay. I understand your frustration. I've been there before. But let me ask you something. You think you ever want to be a homeowner again in the future? What are they going to say? Yeah, of course you would. Who wants to rent for the rest of their life, right? Yeah. So let me ask you something. Would you rather A, live with the restriction of not being able to buy again for 5 to 7 years, or have the option, if you let me help you execute a short sale, to be able to buy again in as little as 2 to 3 years? And I think almost every time they're going to say, well, of course, I like to have the option of being able to buy again as little as 2 or 3 years. Okay, let's get to work. This is what you need to learn. It's forever on their dirty laundry list. You always have to disclose that you've had a foreclosure. And your credit score is going to tank. Without a doubt, it's going to tank. And it may cost you your job, because you may be employed in a segment of the market that credit score matters. In fact, let's talk about that. Might it keep them from getting the job they always wanted? Might it cause them to lose their job if they have a foreclosure on their record? That's important to know. It's important to ask them. See, there are a lot of professions out there that will not let you work for them if you have a foreclosure or bankruptcy on your record. You know that a lot of people have security clearances, and the security clearance can be threatened with a foreclosure or bankruptcy. So what's the difference in a short sale? Well, typically it doesn't threaten their security clearance status. Just knowing to bring that up can make the difference between taking that listing or not. Now, pay attention to this, because most people don't understand this at all. They think that, okay, the bank took my house, fine, they can have it. I just want to put this behind me and walk away. Then they find out that there really is no walking away, because depending upon the state that they live in, the state may allow the lender to sue them for whatever amount of money that they didn't recover. So here's a homework assignment. Google, or you may already know, does your state allow for deficiency judgment, and how long do they have to file for deficiency judgment? I was just teaching in Colorado 2 weeks ago. In Colorado, they have 6 years to go after them. In Florida, they have 1 year. Now, here's the difference. When you do a foreclosure, there's no one advocating on your behalf. The foreclosure happens, the lender could deem you a good candidate to go after you, especially if they have time to watch you and to watch you recover, right? When it's a short sale, in a short sale, by the way, you can have a deficiency judgment potential in a short sale as well. That's why you want to work with an expert. They need to work with someone like us, that part of the negotiation process is to have the lender waive the right to go after them, so that they can have peaceful nights, no more sleepless nights or sleeping with one eye open. These are huge. This is right out of my class. Now, what I focus primarily on in the CDPE is teaching you A through Z about short sales, because you don't need my help with a regular sale. You should know how to do that. But is a short sale for everyone? No, it's really not. But you know what I love about a short sale? Instead of you going to a listing presentation, they come to you. Instead of you interviewing for the job, you're interviewing them to see if they qualify and meet the criteria for you to engage them or them engage your services. It's the great equalizer. Because in a typical listing presentation where the sweetest fruit is up here, the equity fruit, and they're interviewing 3 or 4 agents, a newbie shows up with no ladder, a more experienced agent shows up with a long ladder, and the top producer backs up a cherry picker, and they usually get the listing every time. But in a short sale, you're interviewing them. Kind of a dynamic change, isn't it? Short sales, distressed property are the low-hanging fruit. Now, right out of my class, short sale 101. Ready? What is a short sale? A lot of agents get this wrong. Sometimes I'm in an evil mood and I want to trick people and I say, all right, guys, what do you need to have? What's the first thing that you need to have in order for there to be a potential short sale? And many of the agents get it wrong. The first thing you need to have is an underwater property. Think about it. Yes, it's in foreclosure, but they have equity. It's not a short sale. It needs to be underwater. Once you establish that they're underwater, then you go through the other steps. When we list a property as a short sale, one of the first things we got to do is make sure that we have time to do it. And then we got to get it under contract. And then you, or hopefully your negotiator, is going to submit the package. And think about this. Hey, bank, I got a great deal for you. All right, I'm listening. Take this contract and you get to lose $100,000. Sign here. This is essentially what we're doing in a short sale. We're giving the bank an opportunity to lose a significant amount of money. So why would they even consider doing it? Well, then there's the alternative. The alternative is they don't do the short sale, they go through foreclosure, they take the house back. The whole process might drag on another year or two. Now they're responsible for all the expenses associated with maintaining that property. And by the time it's all done, instead of losing $100,000, they lose $150,000 as an example. That's why banks do short sales. It makes financial sense for them to do it. Our job is to present it in such a way that it does make financial sense and that the homeowners truly are qualified. If they say yes, then they release the title and a new buyer gets to step in and build memories going forward without worrying about the title issues. You should never lose the argument that a short sale is infinitely preferable to a foreclosure. And this is one of the marketing pieces that we make available through our dashboard for our members. And our members can personalize this and they can use this as a tool. Now, is a short sale for everyone? Absolutely not. They must prove that they're going through a hardship scenario, document that they're going through a hardship scenario. They should have more month at the end of the money, meaning that their expenses exceed their income, and they need to provide full disclosure. And last but not least, they should be insolvent, and insolvent is a fancy word for broke. Now, what happens if they have money in an IRA or 401k? Can the bank seize it? No, the bank cannot seize it. But could the bank factor it into their decision as to whether to accept the short sale offer or not? Sure. Think about it this way, folks. If they have $400,000 or $500,000 in a retirement account, why should the bank lose $100,000? Well, because you can't touch that money. I said, I can't touch it, but you can. You can take it out. Take it out and meet your obligation and pay us. Oh, but I'll be penalized. Not my monkey. So these are the things we have to know how to navigate. Not everyone's the same. There's a lot of different factors that contribute to a bank making the decision. Sometimes the bank says, okay, we'll do it, but we want a contribution. We want the the sellers to put a little skin in the game as well. And again, we get into much more specificity over this during the full course. Have I made the right argument? And as a result, do you just say, forget this nonsense, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and hope for the best? Or am I going to engage and work this niche? And as part of working the distressed properties niche, become really, really, really good at working short sales. And let me ask you a favor. Do not give me your money if you have zero inclination to help distressed homeowners avoid foreclosure, because this is really what we stand for. You know that our primary goal in the CDPE is to help them stay in their home? Now think about that. That's counterintuitive. I don't make any money staying in their home. Yeah, you're right, you don't. But the rewards are boundless. So if you have a heart to serve, it's perfectly okay to do well financially by doing good by others. That's where we come in. We're a private designation. We're not part of NAR. We're not part of any state association, but we're the best we are at what we do, and we're back. Now, I got a couple different ways that you can take the class. Hear me out, then I'll give you your bonus tip, and then I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. But since bringing it back, we've far and exceeded 1,000. My goal is by the end of next year, we'll do 5,000. Now, something big has happened in the past few days, many months in the works, but now we've been approved by RE/MAX. We were approved by RE/MAX back then. We're now approved by RE/MAX again, and the CDP is now in the RE/MAX University. I think this is going to trigger, and kudos to them for showing that type of leadership and vision. But now I believe other major independents and other major franchises are going to follow suit. So I believe, given what's coming, that us achieving 5,000 by the end of next year is very, very achievable. It's not just a class, it's a designation that comes with a 1-year membership. And during that year, you can use the logo. People say, Tony, I was a CDP back then. I can still use the logo. I go, no. Are you a CDP now? It's a yearly membership. It's only $99 a year. But we give you a plethora of different benefits. Most importantly, the community that we're building. When you log into your dashboard, you have access to these. And all of this is available for only $4.99. But wait, there's more. There is a Zoom special. Don't freak out on me yet. I got a deal for you, thanks to our sponsors. So hold on. But this is the value, $4.99. I sell these at $4.99 all the time. For my Central Florida peeps, in fact, not just Central Florida, I'm kind of smart. I scheduled this class because I knew a lot of people were flying in for NAR or driving in for NAR. They could just show up a day early and take the class. So this is the one that's happening in Orlando on November 10th, and then NAR starts on the 11th. Now, I have my Zoom-based version. So if you're saying, Tony, I'm nowhere near these places, I want to get started. Well, you can do it over 5 sessions via Zoom. My current Zoom series started last Wednesday. Session 2 is today. Session 2 is today at 1 o'clock Eastern. Here's the beautiful part about my Zoom series. Even if you miss a session or 2 or 3, you get the recordings that evening. So there's no missed content. So let me answer that question right now. Tony, can I still sign up for this series, get the recording of session 1, and even session 2 if I can't make it today? Yes, yes, and yes. Now, I'm hoping and praying this is my last Zoom series, because now I have recorded professionally my 23 modules. Now I'm working to upload it into an LMS series, and then it'll be on demand. So this is a stopgap measure, my last series. And then hopefully within a couple of weeks, anybody that wants to take the course can just sign up on demand and do it. So RE/MAX and other companies are going to keep me busy next year. They're already scheduling me across the country because my goal is to get out in front of as many people live and in person as possible. All right. People ask me, hey, can you help me? I says, look, I can't finance it for you, but PayPal does have that for interest-free payments. So if you have a PayPal account, if you qualify, that could maybe help you get going with the course. So here's what you want to do. You want to go to, hold on a second. What did I do? You want to go to cdpe.com. Okay. Let me do this a second, start to share again. Had a little technical difficulty. There you go. So cdp.com is where you register. Let's talk generation, lead generation. Ready? This is going to sound weird, but I need you to work backwards. Write this down real quick, and I'm going to get to your questions. You need to create 3 columns, A, B, and C. Ready? A, B, and C. Here's what goes in your A column. Properties that already have a sale date. These are the people that are out of time. They should be out of excuses. You have to understand, we are up against a very, very addictive drug called free rent. When somebody lives in their home free, sometimes using the argument that they should leave the home and take care of this doesn't work, because all they're fixating on is, but I'm living for free here. And then when I move someplace else, I got to pay. So here's how I work around it, right? You go find the properties that already have a sale date. That's game over. That means it's done. Those are the ones you focus on first. Which ones do you focus on in column B? Ready? The ones that are officially in foreclosure, but don't have a sale date yet. And then column C are for those that you hear about, come across, that they're behind, they're in default, they're delinquent on their mortgage, but the bank has not initiated foreclosure activity yet. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on those. I would probably do 70% on A, 20 on B, and the rest on C. Now, have these plugged into your CRM so that they're constantly hearing from you and you're reaching out to them. I do an entire segment on lead generation in the class. Now, where do you get this information? Well, you can get it from the court site. You got to go to your county's courthouse site and look up the foreclosure division, and they'll have a calendar. Now, check your MLS. Does your MLS have IMAP? Because if you guys use IMAP, that's a wonderful tool that they have, is that there is a foreclosure search feature built into IMAP. But here's what I truly recommend you do. Spend a little bit of money, invest in a product like Land Voice. Because here's what happens. When you go to the courthouse site, you're going to get names and addresses, but you don't get phone numbers. You need phone numbers. And then not only do you need the phone number, but you need to scrub the phone number against the do not call list. Now, here's what I want to offer you. I want to offer you guys $100 off on the site, on the class. So here's the code that you can use for either the Orlando class coming up or the Zoom version coming up, ORL 100, but that code expires on 11/11. That's it. So I'm not doing a hard close that you got to sign up in the next 15 minutes. But if you go use that code after the Orlando class, it will not work. So let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any questions you may have. I'll check the chat area as well. Okay, thank you, Jeanette, for posting that. Okay. In most cases with a short sale, homeowners assistance is being given. Yes, that's what happens. It's not like it was back in the day. I believe by assistance, you're talking about like walking away money. Yeah. Cash for keys. Yeah, $2,000, $2,500 is still common. You want my suggestion? Don't even bring it up to the homeowner. Because if you bring it up to the homeowner and you're not able to get it, they're mad at you. If you mention $2,500 and you get $2,000, they're mad at you. If you don't say anything at all and you get anything at all, you're a hero, right? No, it will not go down in price because it's pre-recorded. Okay. So it's going to be, because the content's still the same and everything you're getting with it is still the same, the community, the 1-year membership and everything else. Aside from the info in the course, is the designation recognized by consumers? Are there any lead opportunities? That is a great question. Let me ask you something. Does a consumer know what a CRS is? No. Do they know what a GRI is? No. If you go to someone and say, I have the CDPE, they might hear, you have COPD? I'm so sorry. How long have you had it? At the end, consumer awareness is always negligible. What we are doing is starting from the ground up. The designation is only as important to the consumer as you make it out to be. You have to use the logo in your marketing. You have to use certified distressed property expert in your signature. But most importantly, it must become a part of your presentation. Now, we are, not to confuse you, we are coming out with an advanced program. Debbie, I got your email. I'm not ignoring you. You're going to be one of the first to have access to it. But by NAR, we should be able to introduce a lead generation program that's going to be a separate membership. Okay. Now, here's what is included without any extra fees. There is CDPE to CDPE referral opportunities. We have a referral map, and CDPs are sending referrals to each other all the time. So that opportunity is there. But I'm more about teaching you how to engage the distressed homeowner, and then whatever recognition comes along with it, that's a bonus. I love this question here. Will you have step-by-step support on the first transaction? Absolutely not. Okay. I wish I could, I can't. It's impossible. You can't scale that. You can't scale that. In fact, I hesitate to even let people know, can I ask you a question? Because I can't scale it. First of all, I'm not your broker, unless I'm the broker. I'm not your broker. And I'm stepping over some areas there. But here's the thing. What if I told you this right now, that if you follow my instructions, you'll know how to take the short sale, what to do, and anything else. And then you'll be smart enough to hire a really good negotiator. And the negotiator is the one that's going to do the heavy lifting. I don't want my agents, I don't want any of my students doing their own negotiations. That's a recipe for disaster. Turn it over to the people that do it for a living. But I am so confident that my course is going to more than prepare you for what to expect and what to do. And that's a big part of what I teach. You know, when I taught in Tampa, I got an email, actually it was a Facebook request the night before. I'm in a short sale. I don't know what to do. Do you have another class coming up? And I said, just so happens tomorrow I'm in Tampa. And the gal went there with her team. And I was able to step by step say, so tell me where you're at. I'm in this situation. Okay, have you done this? No, do this, and this. On break time, she's redoing everything that has to do with her listings. I introduce you to at least 1 or 2 negotiators, but the community will introduce you to others. So I'm not going to leave you high and dry. I introduce you to at least 1 negotiator. There's another negotiator that's going to be 2 booths over from me at the NAR convention. Do you think the banks are going to pay an additional cost for a negotiator? No, they don't. That's why we teach you exactly how the negotiators get paid, so you know what to do. Typically, the negotiator gets paid out of the transaction or from the buyer or from the agents. It depends on the model. Our scripts and email templates available. We do have scripts that you can actually use as an email, but the advanced course is the one that every single month will provide you with a plethora of marketing tools in addition to the dedicated distressed property website. Okay. In fact, here's a little tip. It's not finished, but I'm going to share it with you now anyway. Go to tonymartinez.com. Go to tonymartinez.com. And that's my sample website, my sample distressed property. It's not officially live yet, but this is what's going to be available to agents that are in my advanced program. And in case you're wondering, can you skip over the regular one and go to the advanced? No. Good question. But no, but that's the kind of website that we're going to have available to you, because people that are losing their home, they don't want to go to your regular website. They're not there to see listings. They're not there to watch you walking hand in hand on the beach with your loved one. They want to know solutions. Can you help me? And all this kind of stuff. So that's going to be on that one. Oh, good question. What would you say is the difference between CDPE and SFR? Me. That's it. Me. Look, am I biased? Absolutely. I'm absolutely biased that I think my class is the best. But I leave it to the people that have taken both to answer that. Now, do I have a little bit of confidence in my ability to convey the information in such a way that's understandable? Yeah. So, me. You get me? Now, that could be the deal killer right there. Can you get a FERPTA hardship in a short sale? You got me. The FERPTA just simply means that you're liable for the tax issue. So then what tends to happen is, that's a great question. It's coming back to me now. Think about this. What is considered the proceeds? And I have to be careful answering this because I'm not a tax professional, and you're not either. But FERPTA is you're taxed on the proceeds. What do they consider a proceed in the sale if the seller is netting zero? You see what I'm saying? Do they treat the total price of the house as the sale, as the proceeds? Because it's really supposed to be based on what you're walking away with. But that is a question for a tax professional. And I'm really glad you brought this up. It's been a while since someone has brought this up. But those are the things that we say, let me ask a tax professional, but now I'm curious and I'm going to ask my tax professional, a couple other ones, and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, I think I got all the questions. Anybody else? I'll stop to share any questions or comments. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate your feedback on that. Okay. We're right at 1 minute after the hour. Hey, Jenny, how are you? Thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to meeting you out there. Lori, you still on the call? Did you want to say any final words to the folks that joined us?
I am on the call, but I just took a bite of food, so give me just 2 seconds.
My timing was impeccable.
So, first, foremost, I want to thank Tony Martinez for lending this valuable information to our agents. You've taught this class in the past, and I just know from experience and feedback that I've gotten from other agents that it really is of tremendous value. And Red Door Title here is, happy to support our agents in whatever capacity we can do in this shifting market. So hopefully this little nugget of information that Tony provided, you'll be able to pocket and then take that information and continue to learn in his next class that we're hosting in November.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's important you partner with a short sale friendly title company. Without a doubt, the title company could kill the deal. And there's so many title companies out there right now that still haven't caught on to what's coming. You don't need to experiment. Work with people that are proven. So I'm excited to partner with Red Door. I appreciate the commitment you're making to the agents. I appreciate Benchmark and Leanette Fernandez, her commitment, because they're making sure not only that the class is available to y'all, but they're also buying lunch. There's nothing like being fed to keep the thing going. All right, folks, listen, that's me. Don't forget to tip your waitresses and all that good stuff. But I hope to see you on the Zoom or live. And again, you'll get this in the recording and give me about 4 or 5 hours. Remember, I'm teaching from 1 to 3 Eastern today. I'll get the recording out to you, and don't be shy about sharing it. But thank you for your commitment to learning and for putting up with my nonsense. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.